This is my first day with the 2018 iPad Pro, and I want to see what it means for professional photographers, or just photographers in general. We just pulled this USB-C dongle out of the drawer, and we're going to try running a 4K monitor off of it. The iPad Pro, everybody. And by the way, do you like the new studio? This is not mine, if you can't tell. So thank you very much to Hasselblad for lending us this space and letting us record in here. And they also lent us the X1D, medium format mirrorless camera, and it produces files that are 70 to 100 megabytes. So the fact that this iPad can handle them at all is incredibly impressive. I just want to see how smoothly it does. And since this would really be optimal for like a travel workflow, we just kind of wandered around the city today, taking some touristy travel photos to see what this could do. And I think we all know that the iPad isn't going to become the de facto professional tool for photographers. There's a lot of limitations. We'll talk about a few of them today. First of all, you can see that it's running this 4K display. It can run up to 5K, and this is just out of like an out-of-the-box random USB-C dongle that we pulled out of the drawer, and it worked instantly. And that's one of the things I love about this, is that it's going to start working with all of those USB dongles that are floating around in your backpack. Now you just need one set to work with both your computer, your iPad. Let's go over what's new in this iPad. First of all, it's the biggest redesign that it's ever had. So this is the first time that a new iPad has made the original one look old. Up till now, they really all felt pretty much the same, but this got rid of the home button. It's moved to just an all gesture thing. So I swipe up to go home. And they did that by adding Face ID. So the regular iPads are still out there and they still have the touch button and no Face ID. The product design reminds me of the iPhone 5, which I loved. That was probably my favorite iPhone design ever. So I'm curious if we're going to see that move to the iPhone line in the future. If you've seen any of the marketing, it's got an A12 Bionic chip and the graphics are way faster. And it is actually more than just marketing. They put a ton of horsepower into this thing. And they're saying it's actually able to run games competitive with the Xbox One, which is crazy. I don't think it's going to become a gaming device because of, controllers, but these things have been overpowered for a while. Like the biggest limitation is actually still in software. So developers, we need you more than ever. The Apple Pencil's been completely redesigned in all the best ways. It has a new finish. There's no cap on the back to lose anymore. And the whole thing's not going to get lost because it just clips on with a magnet. There's a new double tap gesture and developers can use that however they want, but the default is often that it changes it into an eraser. Maybe the biggest change, bigger than all those other biggest changes, is the addition of a USB-C port and the removal of a Lightning port, which puts the iPad Pro more in a computer category instead of sort of the phone category it was in before with the Lightning port. So you can actually charge your iPhone out of an iPad now. It's also, again, the thinnest iPad ever. They like to do that as often as they can. It still has excellent battery life. And another feature I didn't even know about that Apple was showing me is that it has an eSIM inside. So when you're traveling, you could just buy data for one day from a different country. They've also moved the smart connector, so the old keyboard will not be compatible anymore. You need to get the new one. Same goes for the pencil. The old pencil doesn't work with the new iPads and vice versa. And before I started testing this, I reached out to a bunch of my photographer friends and asked what they wanted to know. So I'm going to answer some of their questions now. First of all is just importing photos. How long does it take? What's that experience like? So I'm going to unplug our monitor. And yeah, this is just off the shelf, random USB card reader. And so as soon as I plugged in the card reader, all my files appeared. I've already imported a few. Let's see how long it takes to import 50 megapixel files. And there we go. We got 50 photos selected, and these add up to 5.88 gigabytes. Let's set a timer and see how long it takes to import them. And it's done. 1 minute, 20 seconds, import complete. So wait, let me do some quick math. To download a 64 gigabyte card, that'd be like 15 minutes, which is kind of great. That's not too bad. Another question that came in was about shooting RAW and JPEG as a workflow. And right now you need to use the Photos app as your import mechanism. You can't do it directly through Lightroom. And Apple's created a shortcut that will basically delete all of the photos out of the Photos app after they have been imported into Lightroom so that you're not keeping duplicates. So that's one of those times that you can feel the iPad's using some workarounds and can't do things quite as smoothly as a computer. But again, for mobile workflows, that may not be important to you depending what you're doing. So another common question was how the file system works, if you're able to just plug in regular external drives. No, still can't. It's just a limitation of iOS. They have added the Files app, which helps, but it still doesn't let you access things like an APFS drive like your Mac could. So there are things that work with it. I've heard good things about the Narbox 2, but Apple also told me that basically any hard drive manufacturer that has their own app, that app should be able to access the photos on an external drive. And just for a second, can we appreciate this new pencil? I hope you just go out to a store and just feel it. This is my favorite new thing about this whole iPad is just the new feel of all these things. It's got a new matte finish, a magnet, so you finally have somewhere to put this. I mean, it's obvious, but It's really great, right? And there's no charger on the back, no cap to lose. It's just charging when it's touching the iPad. Another really common question, especially for professionals, is can you shoot tethered? And the answer is maybe, kind of. So now you can plug cameras directly into this thing, like my Sony a7 III we're filming on now, that does have a USB-C out. So does the X1D. So you could plug these both in, but at the moment, the software doesn't play together perfectly. There's some issues occasionally. So if you want to shoot in a tethered-like environment, you're probably going to want to do it over Wi-Fi, and then you're going to be shooting kind of slow. So you can't have that real professional tethered experience, but we're getting one step closer, and it may just be a matter of software updates before we're there. Anyway, let's actually play around in Lightroom a bit. I mean, since I have this projected on a TV, we might as well try doing something. So if you haven't used Lightroom CC before, it is using the full Adobe RAW platform, so you're able to do anything you can do in real Adobe. I'm going to take this out for a longer term trial. I mean, right now, this is just first impressions. But I want to know, can I actually get work done with this thing? Keep in mind, for apps to take advantage of the extra screen, like right now, this is just mirroring what you're seeing on the iPad. But soon we're going to start seeing updates where it has additional functionality when you plug it into an external monitor. For example, the way Lightroom does that on the desktop is you might see your gallery on one side and then a single image on the other, or a print preview. There's all sorts of different ways you can configure it. Another question that came in a lot is about the camera on the iPad. It's not the same as what's in the new 10S and 10R. It's not as good. I don't really know why, but they did bring Smart HDR to it. It's weird to me that iPad cameras lag behind the iPhone ones. I mean, this device is expensive enough that it feels like they should be able to put it in there. But honestly, just don't take photos with your iPad. Don't be that person. There's been some huge advances in the processor, the neural engine, the graphics card, the onboard GPU. Everything is just much more powerful now. And I mean, I can feel it with the way that it handles these 50 megapixel files. It is not slowing down a bit. Part of that is because Lightroom is also optimizing them. It's not editing the original DNGs, it generates sort of previews that it's able to work with more quickly. Then when you export, you have two options. Yeah, I know, it's only two options. Either small, which you're gonna use for social, or maximum available, which I'm gonna use all the time. Another little tip, I've been shooting more RAW on my iPhone lately, and I find the only way for them to really come out well with the 10R, 10S is to shoot in halide, which can shoot in Smart RAW. It just is like a better version of it. Otherwise, they look kind of flat and weird, and then process them in Lightroom. Lightroom does a great job of handling them. And Lightroom also has noise removal, which most third-party apps on an iPad don't have. People also ask which iOS apps I like to use for photography. My little list of favorites here is Lightroom, VSCO, Retouch, which is kind of a simpler way of just removing things instead of launching all of Lightroom if I don't want to. Darkroom, I still prefer Lightroom over it, but I know a lot of people love Darkroom, so I should mention that it exists. Another one that a lot of people love, I've been using it less and less lately, especially as Lightroom offers more of its professional capabilities. Pixelmator and Affinity Photo. And of course, we're still waiting for Photoshop to arrive in 2019, and that's when it feels like this thing will really be ready for professionals. I would say that if you're going to use this in a professional environment, you're going to need to invest in a few things. You will want to pick up the pencil, you're going to need a keyboard for it, and you're going to need a dongle or two. But you should be able to use the exact same ones that you're using for your MacBook Pro. Let's end with the most common question that came in here. Can it replace a MacBook? Can it become your whole computer for a photographer? And I've got to say, it's great to work with, but no, not yet. You do still need a primary machine to get work done in a production environment. So if you're just a regular consumer that's traveling and enjoys photography, yeah, I totally think you could do it. But if you're shooting any serious amount of volume, or you have a need to archive your work, or for a million other reasons, you probably do still need a laptop. Jealous of the people that don't, because they sound like they really enjoy their iPad lifestyle. But I will report back with how this thing goes, and I'll try to figure out a real workflow that professional photographers can apply in the real world. All right, I'm gonna take this thing on the road and see what it can do. Can this please start working with my phone? I'm so ready for that.